Hello, everyone. This is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for Monday, March 10th, 2025, Mario Day. It's a time of the week when we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. I'm Liz. I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join anytime by going to adafruit.it/discord. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel and the CircuitPython voice channel. This meeting typically happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, except when it coincides with a U.S. holiday. In the notes doc, there's a link to a calendar you can view online or add to your favorite calendar app. We also send notifications about upcoming meetings via Discord. If you would like to receive these notifications, ask us to add you to the CircuitPythonistas Discord role. There's a shared notes document that accompanies the meeting and recording. You can contribute to this document beforehand. Final notes document includes timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use the doc to skip around and view the parts of the video that interest you most. Meeting tends to run 30-60 minutes. After each meeting, we post a link for the next meeting's notes document to the CircuitPython dev channel on Discord. Check the pinned messages to find the latest notes doc so you can add your notes for the following meeting. If you wish to participate but cannot attend, you can leave hug reports and status updates in the document for us to read during the meeting. And this meeting is held in 5 parts. First part is community news. Second part, state of CircuitPython, libraries, and Blinka. Third part is hug reports, fourth part says updates, and finally in the weeds. And with that, we will get started with community news. A MicroPython interpreter for Flipper 0. Do you have a Flipper 0? Have you ever wanted to use a high-level but powerful scripting language on it? There is now a MicroPython application for Flipper, complete with a library for hardware and software feature support, and there is a GitHub repo linked along with a Hackaday project. And then the CircuitPython show, our favorite podcast. Todd, Kurt, and Jan Goolsby join the show and share their experience in writing drivers and libraries for the CircuitPython community bundle, and there's a link to it. And then some new features in CircuitPython, audio pitch shift effect. A new audio pitch shift effect was just merged in CircuitPython, and we've got read the docs so you can check out the API and maybe use it in your next project. And then speaking of projects, CircuitPython Snake Game. CircuitPython Snake Game on the TV running on a Metro RP2350. This is from our very own Tim. He's been doing some really fun video game things with the Metro RP2350 and DVI output. And these news items and more are available in our weekly Python for Microcontrollers newsletter, which goes out via email on Monday mornings. Visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks to Anne for putting the newsletter together. If you have any Python on hardware projects to share or find content you'd like to see included, please consider contributing to the newsletter. You can open a PR on GitHub in CircuitPython Weekly Newsletter repo, tag @AnEngineer, or hashtag CircuitPython on Mastodon, X, or email cpnews@adafruit.com with a link. And that is community news. Next, we'll go to the state of CircuitPython, libraries, and Blinka. This is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It gives us a chance to look at the health of the project separate from our status updates. We'll talk about the project overall, then separately discuss the core, libraries, and Blinka. So overall, there were 14 pull requests merged by 10 authors. That's we had the authors were Tannewt, Relic SE, Retired Wizard, Jepler, Foamy Guy, Just Mobilize, Andy Bing, Maker Melissa, and ADCC. These were reviewed by 7 reviewers: Tannewt, Dan Halpert, Tyeth, El Pekenin, Jepler, Gambler21, and Foamy Guy, and 7 closed issues by 4 people, 6 open by 6 people. And now we'll go to the core. Jeff, I don't want to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to read the core?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
So the core is the implementation of the CircuitPython language, and it's written in C. And we had 7 pull requests merged from 7 authors. And all these are names we see with some regularity, but thank you, Andy Bing. I think you are maybe the least frequent out of those 7. We also had 6 reviewers, thanks to E.L. Pekenin and Gambler21, aka Mark, for doing some reviews, even though you're not on the core team. That leaves us with 27 open pull requests. That's a little bit above the informal limit of 25 that we prefer to keep things to, because that means they fit on one screen on the GitHub pull request tracker. So if you've got some pull requests on that list, please take a look and see whether you're waiting on us to help advance that, or whether there's something that you can do. And please stay in touch about your pull requests. Issues-wise, we're down 2 issues because we had 5 issues closed by 3 people and 3 new issues opened also by 3 people. That leaves 768 open issues. We use milestones to track the Adafruit prioritized work, and here are some of those milestones. For version 9XX, we have 59 open issues that we'd like to fix. Those can represent less important bugs or small enhancements. For 9.2x, we have 12 open issues, and those usually represent important bugs or new hardware that we'd like to support sooner rather than later. The final issue, or the final milestone I'll call out, is 10.0.0 with 18 open issues. And that's a list of incompatible changes that we're holding off on until we start the next major version of CircuitPython development. Most of the issues are tagged long-term, and that means Adafruit isn't prioritizing work on that issue right now. But if you, as a community member, would like to help out, you're more than welcome to. You can post on the issue, talk to us on Discord, if you'd like to get started. And that wraps it up for the core. Thank you, and back to you, Liz.
Awesome, thank you, Jeff. And now we'll hear about the libraries from Tim.
All right, thanks, Liz. This section covers all of the CircuitPython libraries. They are split into 2 main halves, so to speak. We have the Adafruit libraries, of which there are currently 354 published, and we have the libraries over in the community bundle, which there are currently 154 published of, which gives us a total, including all of them, of 508 right now. Over the past week, on the Adafruit library side, we had 5 pull requests merged by 2 different authors, thanks to Justin and Maker Melissa. We had 4 reviewers for those pull requests, thanks to Scott, Dan, Tyeth, and myself. Of the pull requests that did get merged this week, they were pretty much all on the newer side of things. The oldest one was 9 days. The newest one was down at 1 day, like usual. And that leaves us after the week with 47 pull requests open. The oldest one of those is a draft that's 935, and the newest one is listed at 12 days old, which makes me slightly suspicious of our report, but I shall continue on. We have 2, over the past week, I should say, we had 2 issues closed by 2 people and 1 new issue opened up by 1 person. And that leaves us right now with 694 open issues across all of these libraries. And there are 3 of those currently that are listed as good first issues, which you can find over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is a website where you should head if you would like to get involved in CircuitPython. When you first load that page, again, the URL is circuitpython.org/contributing. You'll find a list of the open pull requests, and you can look through that list. Usually the first thing that we have folks do when they want to get involved is take a look at open PRs and leave comments there in GitHub, reviewing the PR, so to speak. So you can take a look at the changes that are in that proposed PR. If you have the hardware for it, you can test it out. Otherwise, you can just look through the code for spelling, syntax, logic, anything and everything that you can think of. Leave a comment there on GitHub letting us know if you do look it over and what you found. If you did have the hardware for that particular library as well and you were able to try it out on hardware, let us know that as well in your comment and how it went. Once you get comfortable with that process, if you would like to get leveled up to leave official reviews over on GitHub, we can work with you to make that happen as well. Or if you would like to start contributing your own code, you can start looking through issues on GitHub. And again, an easy place to find those is back at that same page, circuitpython.org/contributing. Near the top, there are some navigation links. And if you click over to issues, you'll get a similar looking list of links over to GitHub. But these ones represent issues rather than PRs. They are just ideas at this point, waiting for someone to come along and actually implement the code change to make it happen. So if you would like to do that, you can look through the list, find something that you have an interest in or some knowledge of, or especially if you do have the hardware to test, if it's like a driver-based library or something like that, click through to GitHub, read about what the issue is, whether it's a new feature or a bug fix or enhancement, and then have a try at actually implementing whatever that change is and submit your own PR. We do have learn guides that can walk you through the process of contributing with Git and GitHub. So if you are new to that process, we can help you out with resources there. Also, we have folks who are around in the Discord throughout the week. If you feel like you would like to help contribute, whether that's reviewing or submitting PRs with code, and you're having trouble with any part of the process, whether it's version control or any of the pre-commit checks or actions or anything like that, please feel free to come say hi in the Discord. Let us know what you're up to. Let us know if you're having trouble with anything, and we will be happy to help you out. In terms of library updates in the last 7 days, we had requests, mini MQTT, and BLE BroadcastNet, all with some updates this week. And that's what we've got in the libraries for now. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. And now we're going to go back to Jeff to hear about Blinka.
Hello again. So Blinka is a compatibility layer that lets you run CircuitPython code on single board computers like the Raspberry Pi. And this week we had two pull requests merged from 2 authors and 2 reviewers. So thank you to Tim, Foamy Guy, as well as Just Mobilize for those pull requests. That leaves 26 open pull requests, and I'm excited to see that pull requests within the newer Adafruit Blinka modules that I've been working on are listed in this report. And that is something that it took a little time for that to become available, but it's here now. So for instance, there's a pull request open in PIO matter that's been open for 6 days. Hooray. Issues-wise, we saw 0 closed issues and 2 new issues open by 2 people, leaving 152 open issues. And the number of boards supported by Blinka stands at 146.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And that is state of CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. Next up is Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance to highlight folks in the CircuitPython community and beyond for doing awesome things. I'll start, and then we'll go down a list of Hug Reports alphabetically. If you are text only or are missing the meeting, I will read your notes when I get to them in the list. So I'll kick things off. Thanks to Tim for assisting with product learn guide updates. It really helps me to have a little bit extra time to work on other tasks. Jeff, just now for taking up multiple sections during the state of CircuitPython. And then a group hug, especially to those who were waiting on the meeting, as I had a couple of audio issues trying to get my speaker routed to the right source. So appreciate that. Next, I will read for Dan, who is traveling. Hug report to Tanu and TAC for working on USB host, and ADCC for diagnosing RP2350 PSRAM DMA memory issue. And speaking of, now we'll hear from ADCC.
Thank you, Liz. I'd like to send a big hug out to Scott, Dan, and Jeff for all of the fine work they've been doing down in the engine room of CircuitPython. It's a magnificent job and very well done. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll hear from Foamy Guy.
All right, thank you. I have Hug Reports this week, thanks to JP for working with me to get through some issues that we experienced on the Pi 5 with the matrix panels. It's never necessarily fun to troubleshoot something where it's just kind of working for one person and not the other, but we got through it. Also, huge thanks as well to Jeff for a suggestion that ultimately led us to the solution for one of the trickier issues that we were having. Thanks to Mark Gambler for some suggestions of a more efficient way to store mapped colors when we are using a palette versus a color converter. And I did not mention the context, but this is talking about the tile palette mapper, the module that I've been working on in the core. Thank you to Scott as well on the same topic for some encouragement and input on that core module, the tile palette mapper. I took a step back kind of this weekend from implementing and testing it to just play with it a little bit and see what kind of stuff I could come up with. And I'm starting to gain even more appreciation for the flexibility that it provides. I think we're going to be able to do some really cool stuff with recoloring bitmaps and more. Thanks to Jeff for another round of improvements in the PO Matter library. And that's what I've got. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And now we'll hear from Jeffler.
Hi again. I don't know when I've gotten to be the last in a section, but I have a hug report to ADCC for excellent sleuthing to resolve a Pico DVI crash. to Relic SE, aka Cooper, for the pitch shift audio effect that I was recently able to merge in, to Ann Engineer for her Matrix demo building on the Arduino DVI HSTX library. Looks really cool. And last but not least, a group hug for all y'all.
Great, thank you, Jeff. And that was Hug Reports. Next up, we'll go to Status Updates. Status Updates is our time to tell folks what we're up to individually. I will start, and we'll go through a list of updates alphabetically. While I call on you, take a couple minutes to talk about what you've been doing since the last meeting and what you'll be doing until the next meeting. If the discussion becomes too long for status updates, we can move it to In the Weeds. So this past week, I published the Portable Macro Data Refinement Terminal Learn Guide, and I'm really proud of this project. I put a lot of work into the Python code and 3D design to channel the vibe of Severance, the Apple TV show. It's really satisfying to use with the trackball mouse, which is also one of those components that I saw in the shop for a couple of years now, and I really want to do a project for that. So I was glad to use it, and I hope the whole project in general can be a useful example for folks looking to build their own Severance props. So next I will read for Anne. She published a guide on CircuitPython breakout game on the Adafruit learning system for the Metro RP2350. She also made a matrix display program in Arduino, and it'd be a good candidate for a conversion to CircuitPython, and she is hinting to Foamy Guy for that. And then next I will read for Dan. He has been working on the Nina firmware progress for Airlift. Was updated to ESP-IDF version 5.3. Using mostly existing Arduino ESP32 libraries, building with CMake structure with Arduino ESP32 as a component, and next we'll be starting to port to the ESP32 C6. And now we will hear from ADCC.
Thank you again, Liz. So this week I submitted a PR, which is a package of miscellaneous fixes for frame buffer that I ran into while I was working on the issue I'm going to talk about next. Hopefully they'll make frame buffer a bit more stable. Resolved an issue with double faulting during flash file system erase with concurrent Pico DVI frame buffer operation. The root cause was disappointingly simple, but debugging was complicated by complete loss of zip access to flash. Had to resort to manually deconstructing the stack in SRAM, as higher level GDB commands themselves were double faulting. And finally wrote up an issue asking for an enhancement for a facility to allocate memory in SRAM for DMA buffers. In a nutshell, on PSRAM equipped RP2350 boards, it's now unpredictable whether memory allocations will come from SRAM or PSRAM. And that is especially true as the heap ages. DMA will fail if it attempts to access PSRAM. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Foamy Guy.
All right, thank you. I finished up and published the guide for a Flappy Nyan Cat game for the Metro RP2350. If folks are interested in that, the guide's out there now, and I also showed it on Show and Tell last week if you want to see what that's about. I tested out some more USB host stuff on the Metro 2350 and the Fruit Jam. I have made a very basic mouse test script that has a moving cursor, which is really exciting to see a mouse move around in CircuitPython screen. A slightly more fun test with some draggable playing cards. It's still not a game or anything just yet, but it's more than just the mouse moving around, so that's kind of cool as well. And then I, on the Fruit Jam, was able to successfully test both keyboard and mouse at the same time. Was really excited to see both of those working. And then on the Raspberry Pi 5 RGB matrix front, I have been working on a new guide page for the X window virtual display functionality, and I tested and reviewed what I can from the new functionality that was added in a PR to that repo. And that's what I've been up to. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. And I was excited to see your mouse tests from over the weekend. And now we will end things with Jeff.
All right. So in Blinka on the Pi 5, I added support for multiple connectors and a technique called temporal dithering to PIO matter, and that's the pull request in progress that Tim was just referring to. On a single 64 by 64 panel, 10-bit depth at 100 frames per second is now possible. With 3 connectors and 6 displays, you would get about 50 frames per second. So that is a really nice improvement in the performance. It also works with lower bit depths. So, for instance, if you want to go down to 5 bits per pixel and use temporal dithering, you can get up to 210 frames per second now, and it still looks great. Some more work needs to be done, enabling the multi-connectors easily without needing to copy and paste around code to define the matrix map. And I think Tim had some other review comments for me, so I'll be doing my best to wrap that up. The other item that I did this past week was I merged in the pitch shift audio effect pull request. So we'd love it if people went out and tried out that code and created some cool demos. Most of my work has again been in Arduino land on the HSTX video library and the MCU-ME emulator. I think we'll be writing that latter thing up as a guide in some form, but there are at least 3 useful emulators in there, a Commodore 64, a Game Boy, and even a 256 kilobyte IBM PC emulator that Anne has been working with. So this week, I anticipate more emulator work in Arduino and Pico SDK land. In particular, I'm going to be working on porting an existing Macintosh emulator so that it works with USB input devices and displays on HSTX for output. I also have work to do in the CircuitPython core. I've just been merging in some pull requests. I also need to review Scott's new code to add a saves partition, and that's a new feature for the Raspberry Pi, or for the Adafruit Fruit Jam with the Raspberry Pi Pico 2350, whatever that chip is called, on it. So that's what I'm up to for now. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. And that was status updates. It looks like today we don't have any in the weeds topics, so I will go ahead and wrap things up. This has been CircuitPython Weekly for Monday, March 10th, 2025. Thank you to everyone who participated. If you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. Video of this meeting will be released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast will be available on major podcast services. It will also be featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter. Visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe. Next meeting will be held next Monday, as usual, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. This meeting is held in the Adafruit Discord, where you can join by going to adafruit.it/discord. To be notified about the meeting and any changes to the time or day, you can ask to be added to the CircuitPython Nisa's role on Discord, and we hope to see you all next week. Thanks, everyone.